Here we're going a little bit deeper into signaling in the cell membrane. We've seen this before in cell biology in much more detail, but we're just having an overview again. So remember here that signaling often begins at the cell membrane, and because this lipid bilayer acts as a barrier to most molecules, the signal must often be transduced across the membrane. So remember that molecules that are able to go through the bilayer are lipophilic, whereas those that are not are lipophobic. So protein-based ligands cannot penetrate, whereas lipid-based ligands can penetrate because of the hydrophobic molecules. So remember, there are conformational changes that take place as a result of this signaling mechanism, and we'll talk more about that. And a little bit more on this process of the signaling at the plasma membrane. We call this outside-in signaling because some of these are not able to enter the cell, so they have to send a message in. These stimuli cannot enter the cells. An example of these would be cytokines or chemokines, and these would then bind to the cell surface receptors and send their message down into the cell to create this cascade and onto second messengers, which would activate other processes leading to the goal of this messaging. Remember that lipid-soluble molecules can cross the membrane, and they bind to internal receptors, which may even actually be in the nucleus. In this case, we're looking at formation of proteins and messenger RNA activation, and we're looking at the control of protein making in this situation. But we must remember what signaling can and can't come into the cell. So to summarize here a little regarding the types of cellular receptors, the receptors play a number of different roles in the cell, and many of the receptors bind to ligands, after which they internalize and deliver the cargo to different cellular locations. An example of this would be LDL, or the bad cholesterol, where the receptor binds and then it is brought into the cell, and other receptors function in cellular adhesion. And then there are signaling receptors that do not internalize their cargo, but pass on the signal via changes in protein conformation and phosphorylation events. And we're going to talk more about that in the next slides.